Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's been a while. So for this video, I was thinking of making a gambling game, or more specifically, like the Plinko game on stakes. Like I've seen these videos online of people playing this, so I was curious if it's really that appealing. How bad could gambling be? So originally I just wanted to replicate Plinko, but it seemed like somebody already beat me to it. Unlike the actual gambling website, this version doesn't play with real money, so there's no stake involved. The game is basically you drop a certain amount of money balls from the top and they move left or right down to the bottom, and a multiplier is applied to the ball at the end. I tried it out and maybe gambling isn't so bad after all. Since someone already made what I was planning to make, I racked my brains and asked chat what I could do. And honestly, it came up with some pretty great ideas that I'ma use. Some of these are pretty downright evil, and yet it doesn't tell me how to steal bike. So I started off making the normal Plinko game, but with the movement based off of Unity's gravity, which isn't really what I want since it just bounces up and down, and doesn't move to the other pegs without an outside influence. So I had to add in a bit of code to move them, combined with some bouncy material. Statistically and ideally, I wanted to result in a normal distribution, but it never really worked. So then I just switched it to being hard-coded. It's just a 50-50 for the ball to go left or right whenever it touches a pin. Now this is different from gambling websites where the results are pre-calculated and then the graphics are displayed based on that. So my game is a lot more legit and transparent, and definitely not because the other option seems like more effort to code. I kept testing the distributions of the balls, and it finally seemed like a reasonable distribution. I added input fields for the player to choose how much money each ball is worth, how many balls to gamble with, and the delay between spawning the balls. I made the multiplier goals at the bottom work, and I adjusted them until they seemed reasonable enough for the player to lose most of their money, but occasionally gain spikes of profit to maximize that feeling that they could still win big. The balls don't collide with each other until they reach the end, so that the player can shoot a lot more balls at once if they wanted. I really like how it looks like a liquid when the delay is set to 0. I began to add different types of pegs to make it more interesting. Some pegs give the balls multipliers. The yellow ones multiplied by 1.5 while the red ones multiplied by 0.5, which of course leads to the player losing money. I added transparent pegs that allow the balls just straight through, and then directional pegs that only allow the balls to move in only one direction, left or right. Since the actual layout of all the pegs are reset each time the player presses play, it does make it a lot more random than usual, and the player could win or lose a lot more than normal. Definitely intentional game design. I then tried adding sound effects for when the ball hits the pegs and when it enters the goals. I got it to sound somewhat right. Next, I worked on making a jackpot, which is when the player hits the 64 times multiplier goal, and a bunch of coins will fall from the sky like those in the slot machines. But I ended up changing the jackpot to be one of the pegs since it fits the name of the game. I added the Peg of Fortune name effects too. This peg spawns much more rarely than the other ones. Next, I tried to turn it into 3D. It is a lot simpler since originally the 2D version was just 3D shapes using 2D looking materials. Since a proper 3D version should move in all 3 axes, the new 3D pegs are generated so that balls have 4 possible directions to move to, also just hard-coded. I tested out several versions of the pegs and ultimately decided on a semi-transparent material so that the player can see all the balls through them. Along with that, I had to change all the multiplier goals to fit the new layout. It seems to be a lot harder to get the outer multipliers since there's more directions than just left or right for each peg that the ball touches. I then made each peg briefly light up when a ball touches it, which looks a lot better now, and I really should have thought of doing it earlier. It ended up bugging out when I made it light up too much in 3D, which is a problem with the renderer, and I was really gonna leave it like that since it's more colorful and might give people seizures, but I had to fix it since it eventually crashed Unity. I then made a bomb peg that deletes any balls that it touches, and particles to make the scene even more chaotic. And yeah, that's about it for this video. If you want to gamble, you can try it out in the description. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.